I just had a video sent to me regarding the Glastonbury zodiac, and I had looked at it before, but didn't have the detail of this video that has been recently uploaded. So I wanted to share this with you because I find this really fascinating how these zodiac signs were all embedded around this town. And this video that this man dropped was all regarding it in relation to the King Arthur's round table, like the 12 knights, and how each one is in reference to the zodiac signs. But when he described them, there was some few revelations that I had not known before, and one of them was that Libra is in the form of a dove. I've always wanted to know where the dove symbolism came from, and so now this is, being clarified to me that the Libra symbol is the dove. And also the other one that was really interesting was Cancer. They have as the Argo ship, the Carina ship, it's now called, that the Argonauts went in with Jason and the Argonaut story. And I will go into that story because there's a lot of alchemic knowledge in that story, but it's too long to put this all together with this video. So I will do a video on just that alone. And the fact that the ship is what Cancer is. Now that one had been changed. They think originally that Cancer was another symbol, most likely a beetle or, I don't know, maybe a beehive because of the beehive cluster, but they have it now as the ship. And that I found really fascinating, and I will go into that, why I think that is so interesting. And also the other sign that was really stuck out to me was Aquarius is the phoenix at the Chalice Well. The Chalice Well has the Vesica Pisces on it. So that is very important as well. And it all relates to this year on Christmas Eve and where all the planets are in the sky at midnight. And I want to go over those positions of all the different players in the sky and also some of the Greek mythology, because a lot of the asteroids are named after Greek mythology, and they're all in very interesting positions in the sky at midnight this year on Christmas Eve. So I just wanted to go through the whole sky on Christmas Eve and go through a little bit of Greek mythology that relates to it. And we can see the two stories being played out in the sky. I believe the two crosses, the cardinal cross and the mutable cross, is actually in play in the sky. Here's all the constellations broken down, and you can see the first one is Aries, I am, is actually the Anis D, which is the Lamb of God. Okay, so we have the Aries constellation now being referred to as the Lamb of God. Then Taurus is just there, being Taurus, the Silver Gate. The Gemini twins are like two giants. Cancer is the ship. Leo is just the lion. Virgo is actually a witch, and the towns are named around parts of her body. Then I said Libra is the dove. And he made an interesting realization that when you look at the Libra symbol, the balance symbol, it could be a bird flying straight on at you, or also a belt around with your belly button. And that is where through the chakras, when you have the I am, the Aries on top. Okay, so then we have Scorpio is just like a scorpion, and then the next one here is Sagittarius, and then the following one is Capricorn with the unicorn almost on it, and then we have Aquarius looking like the phoenix, and then Pisces looking like the two fish with the tether between them, going to Cetus, the sea monster. So we have them all there. They also had the dog guarding it, the hound, and I do believe that's probably Sirius, the dog star. So I started thinking, why would they have the Aquarian symbol as the phoenix. And then I started thinking, if we're in the fixed cross right now because we're doing sun worship, maybe the chakras do need to be in that direction to get out of here. So you have your phoenix on top, you're rising out of the ashes, and then we're going into the I am cardinal cross. That's where we're going. So that made sense to me. The fixed cross having Leo as the sun, and Saturn is Aquarius on the sun pillar. So you need to burn to get out of the sun pillar and come out of the ashes. He also explained that the cellist well is actually on the eye of the phoenix. So that is interesting that they have it like that. And then he explained that, the pagans saw the Vesica Pisces as a goddess symbol, and the red water that comes out of this well is the menstrual blood from the goddess. And now the Christian concept of it is that, it's the fish that Jesus sits in, the Vesica Pisces, and that's the wine. The red water is the wine. So it's interesting to see how the two different religions, both referring to the Vesica Pisces, because it's very, very important, and it's also in the sky. The thing about the Vesica Pisces, it can be drawn with a string and a stick, and you can get your perfect pyramid from it. It's also the foundation for the flower of life. So it has a huge, huge importance, and I see it kind of like the womb of Mother Gaia, and this is really, I think, what the pagans were seeing it as. So the symbol has like history with iota, chi, theta, and epsilon and sigma, which are all the Greek, letters, and they use them in the sky, right, to name all the stars. Here we have the written form of it is Jesus, the Anointed One, also the Lord being Theta, which I find really interesting, because if that's how you balance your left and right brain, is through theta. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. I think it's theta. And so that is really how, you balance your feminine and male energies. And this is what this whole test is all about. Okay, so to be able to ascend past the illusion of this duality that we're in, you have to be able to balance those two pillars so that you can be on the middle path. But it all goes back to the Vesica Pisces. So I'm almost seeing like the Vesica Pisces is part of the birthing of the goddess. So I'm like, okay, so now we're like, okay, what is the goddess? Is the goddess, the harvesting, or is the goddess the freedom? And I'm starting to think the goddess is more towards the harvesting. So I'm starting to think, is it the balancing of Venus and Mercury, the theta heart, which would be Gemini, to the mind's eye Venus is freedom, I am the crown. So maybe it's just a balancing, I think, really that's what it comes down to. The Jesus symbol is the male, is the sun, the goddess symbol is the moon, and it's just the balancing of the two. And if you're balanced, you'll be able to walk the middle path, and if you're not balanced, you will be harvested. So I don't think, I'm starting to think that, but it's just that the Vesica Pisces has to do with Pisces, the constellation Pisces, which is Jupiter. So that's the god of this realm, Zeus. So the symbolism in the sky on Christmas Eve is interesting because we have Mars in the Pisces constellation. So the war planet is in the Vesica Pisces. And the reason I'm saying that is because Vesta, goddess, is in Virgo, the woman, at the same time. And this all goes back to the Vestal virgins that held the fire, they guarded the fire. And so that goes back to goddesses again. So it's interesting that asteroid happens to be on the head of Virgo. Now, the etymology of Pisces is fish. It's the two soles of your feet. but it's also a little blister on your bladder. And this is why I think it's a part of the harvest path, because if anybody's listened to my old videos, phosphorus is made from urine, the UR again, which is groupthink. UR is the opposite of I am. And the UR is the urine, and the urine creates phosphorus, which activates DNA. And this is all about collecting human DNA. And it also goes back to the etymology of to leave, to abandon, to give out. Now the moon, which is Cancer, right, ruled by Cancer, the moon pillar is on the eye of the beast exactly at midnight in conjunction with Uranus, which is heaven. Okay, this goes back to the planet that is related to heaven. Okay, so this is what's going on in the sky on Christmas Eve at midnight. We have the moon on Sitis's eye, which is the beast. I believe that's like the sea monster. And then we have Uranus there. It's not in this pic, but because it won't pull up the same time as when I pulled up Enki. And now Enki, is part of the Anunnaki, but he also represents Capricorn. So when you end up looking at this from a cardinal cross point of view, you have Aries, the constellation Aries, I am, which is on the cardinal cross. You have Capricorn, which is on the cardinal cross, which is Enki, he's there. You have the moon, which is on the cardinal cross as Cancer. And the only one that's missing is Libra, which would be the dove for balance. Okay, so this is like, where would that be coming from to complete the cardinal cross? I think has to come from balancing your twin flames, your thymus, what Plato talks about. I do believe those two, they're like Christmas trees in the thymus. They're the two pillars. Okay, they're the male and feminine pillars. And it's like you have to balance these to actually connect your heart to your mind's eye through your, throat chakra, which is where the thymus is. Okay, so which is, part of Mercury, represented by Mercury. So, we're missing Mercury on the cardinal cross, but we're also in this depiction here, we're missing Libra, the balance. So you have to bring the balance to this. But it's interesting, this is all happening in the sky all on Christmas Eve at midnight. It's like the strike of midnight, right? Like the Cinderella story. Then we also have Mars there, right between the two fish, which are attached to the beast. So it's like, okay, so what's that about? The Mars, it wouldn't be the I am, it would most likely be a Scorpio, which is Quetzalcoatl, which is also a serpent. So we have the serpent there, and then Enki represents being a serpent, right? Like Capricorn is the fish goat, but it's also kind of like the sea monster attached to the goat. Okay, so it can be considered to be a serpent as well. So Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Now it's the feminine aspect. That would be on the mutable cross. It would be the moon pillar, the water pillar. And then we have Mars there, which is also ruled by Scorpio, which Scorpio used to be a snake, which they also turned it into an eagle. Like they did a switch there because it's like the eagle kills the snake. But anyhow, it was a snake at one point, has a stinger. So it's right between almost like the legs of the feet of the fish, the soles of your feet, and those are your legs, and then it's attached to the beast. So I'm thinking this is kind of like the beast side, and then the which is the mutable cross, because we have Jupiter there, which is on the mutable cross. And then the other side is more the cardinal cross. That's the way I'm seeing it, how it's kind of all being portrayed here on Christmas Eve. Now, on the mutable cross, we would need Sagittarius, which is the golden gate, where the sun's going to be on Christmas Eve. Like the sun is in the Golden Gate, which is ruled by Sagittarius and Jupiter. And then you would need the two Mercuries. You'd need the woman. So is this the woman? You know, um, and is she being impregnated with the snake, Scorpio? And also you would need Gemini, the two twins again. So it's again the thymus, uh, the throat chakra. I speak my truth. So that just the way I'm seeing it, it's kind of like weird the way the two are kind of like beside each other at the same time on this amazing time when Saturn and Jupiter are doing this conjunction in Saturn's house on Saturnalia. Like it's just crazy. You'll notice on top of the ram, which would be, the Lamb of God, according to the Glastonbury zodiac, has the pyramid on top of it, the triangle. And then we also have, Pleiades there, which is I will see. And then, of course, the cardinal cross, or Aries, top of the cardinal cross, is I am. So this is what's playing out in the sky. So I just wanted to show you guys all this. And there's also other stuff going on in Cancer with some of the Greek mythology. So Enki is EA, and it's also Capricorn, but we also have EA as Aquarius. So Saturn is ruling Aquarius and Capricorn, but both of those constellations refer to Enki. And this relates to Athena, the counterpart of Minerva, and you can see the big snake with the man inside the snake mouth, and right at the nose of the snake is the goat horns. Okay, so this would be Capricorn. This is like the goat with the sea, the sea fish or, reptile attached to him. And that's the golden fleece hanging in the tree, which relates back to the Jason and the Argonauts story, which I will do a video on. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. You need your golden fleece to be protected. You want to wear your golden fleece. It's your shield. Now, Scorpio has the upper house is Ophiuchus, which is the doorway. And here's a picture of it looking like a doorway. It's got the baby holding the skull. So it's like rebirth. We also have the horse with the spear killing a dragon, and then the eagles flying in the air. So there's lots of symbolism there. So yeah, I do think this is all relating, being that it's in Pisces, right at the same time when Enki and heaven are there, at the same time as the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, with Mercury in conjunction with the sun. It's like, so much going on at Christmas Eve. It's mind-blowing. I can't imagine that, nothing will happen. It's too overwhelming how many things are just in perfect alignment. Okay, so here it's saying that Scorpio, apparently because of the primordial role as the consort of Virgo, the great mother goddess, the archetypes before Isis, the astrology sign of Scorpio will preside over the restoration of mankind to its previous spiritual state. Occult sources seem to agree on this. That a transformation of the whole wide world, a release from the entrapment in matter, will occur during the sign of Scorpio. So it's not just during the sign of Scorpio. It's like, where Scorpio is, Mars is Scorpio. It's also Aries, but it can be Scorpio. It's in the Pisces is the constellation of religion, spiritual. Okay, so spiritual transformation with Mars being there is pretty amazing. And then what else is it saying here? It's just saying that it's relating to the serpent and the tribe of Dan, and they switched it to the eagle. The tribe of Dan does have the symbol of the serpent. Just always remember, one serpent kills you, one serpent frees you. Caduceus. Yeah, and here's another quote saying that Enki is both Aquarius and Capricorn. Now, part of the mutable cross has Virgo on it, right? Mercury. And we have Minerva there, which is counterpart is Athena. And we also have Vesta. Now, when I started looking into Vesta, because it kept popping up at me, I didn't even know what it was, but it kept popping up at me when I was on Stellarium. Sometimes I think AI, talks to me. It's like, why are you showing me this all the time? But anyhow, it keeps popping up. And I just decided to follow my intuition and do a little dig on it. And it's interesting, it actually goes back to the Vestal Virgins, who were the goddesses, were the keeper of the flame. Okay, so what is this flame? Is this the flame for the DNA? Is it, because Virgo is all related to harvesting. She is the harvester. She harvests, what is she harvesting? That'll be, the mystery. I always make a joke out of it. They call it big pharma. Are we a farm? Are we part of the harvest? Is really, we're really what it says in the Bible. We are, right? We get harvested. So, anyhow, I just started to look into this Vesta and learning about everything about her. Now, it's about standing by power. It's also about the burning, again, the flame, the fire. And here it's talking about the Vestal Virgins. And let's go in and we'll start looking about Minerva. I did mention in my last video, she's on the Ophiuchus of Washington painting in the Rotunda building in Washington. And it's just interesting, it's right on the crown of her head. This is the wise woman. Okay, she's the strong warrior. Now, Roman goddess of wisdom. She's also a patron of violence, such as Mars. Oh, she's not a patron of violence as Mars is. She's more like she stands her ground. She's related to the Capitoline triad, which is Jupiter and Juno, along with her. She's also the Virgin, again, Virgin being in Virgo. It's no surprise that she's in Virgo on Christmas Eve. And it's also to do with the owl. And then sometimes she's associated less frequently with the snake and the olive trees, which is, to me, it's like, the olive tree, the tree of life, this constant harvesting, I think is part of keeping the tree of life going. And it's all the symbolism of all that. So the owl as well is there. Now there's a big statue of Athena, right? All covered in gold. She's always in gold. But after Athena was born, fully armed from Zeus's forehead, Trident, acting as a foster parent of the goddesses, raised her alongside his own daughter, Pallas. The sea god taught both girls the arts of war. During the athletic festival, Pallas and Athena fought with spears in a friendly mock battle, and whoever won, got to knock the other one's sword out of their hand. At the beginning of the fight, Athena got the upper hand until Pallas took over. Before she could win, Zeus, which is Jupiter, who was in attendance, fearing to see his own daughter lose, distracted Pallas with the Aegis, which is the golden fleece. And she had once shown interest in. She'd once been interested in the golden fleece, but she got distracted, and then Athena unexpectedly impaled her. She didn't move, and then she got impaled. So she basically died. Out of sadness and regret, she created the pallidum, a statue in the likeness of Pallas, and wrapped the Aegis, which would be the golden fleece, which she had feared, around the breast of it, and set it up beside Zeus and honored it. Later, Athena took on the little Pallas as a tribute to her late friend. Okay, so, she took on the title Pallas. Sorry, I couldn't read it. The writing's so small. Anyhow, so this whole thing is all about the golden fleece. It's really interesting when you start understanding the whole story of ascension and the snake, and every ancient mythos story that you read has it coded in it. Like this whole Jason and the Argonauts, it's totally coded with all the planets and all the symbolism of ascension. So I'm really interested in reading that to you guys because I thought it was really fascinating. But any mythology, when you start to understand the symbols, you can see the two paths. One person doesn't get protected, doesn't have its golden fleece, doesn't have its flame, doesn't have, its crown, and they die, and the other one transforms. It's always seems to be that same story over and over again. So the paladum is this little wooden statue that she made for Pallas that is actually called Exo-Anon, which is really funny with the whole Q movement and everybody being Anons. It's a little man that actually gets covered in gold, and it was super important, and it was regarded as the safety for Rome and for Troy, and it was really sought after to have this, and you needed to have this to have safety. So here it is, the exo-anon. I think it's hilarious. It's like we're in some crazy movie. Anyhow, this is it. It's this little figure. It looks like a human, and it's usually cloth in a gold leaf. And it relates to Daedalus. So let's look into that. It's interesting when you just find these sites and then, the rabbit hole just keeps on going. But I don't want to bore you with all of it, but it all connects. So this is the legend the Exo-Anon is connected to. And it says here, he invented and built the labyrinth. We're in the labyrinth, okay? Like this world that we're in is like the labyrinth. And he was imprisoned within the labyrinth. That's us. He and his son Karas devised a plan to escape by using wings made of wax that Delius had invented. They escaped, but Icarius, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, did not heed his father's warning and flew too close to the sun, and the wax melted, and Arcturus fell to his death. This left Daedalus heartbroken, but instead of giving up, he flew to the island of Sicily. Because it's like whoever that makes it through, you get to go to some island. You're going to get to live somewhere else for a little while you're not in the labyrinth. This is the whole story. It's the story of man. So the Exo-Anon is really relating to this ascension. It's like hilarious. Okay, so that was Virgo, and now we have to check out Cancer because it's all to do with the moon, right? It's not just about the sun, what's happening on the winter solstice, being in the Golden Gate. It has to do with the moon because that's the other pillar. So on the cardinal cross, the Cancer is on the actual moon pillar, and then Aries would be the fire, would be on the sun pillar, the I am. So we have Eunomia, we have Hygeia, and Erin, it's very similar, but she's always depicted as peace. Okay, so she's all to do with peace, and she's the sister of Dyke and Eunomia. Dyke is the justice. It's actually Libra. It's the white dove. It depicts the goddess carrying a child in her left arm. The god and son of plenty, Demeter, and the goddess of agriculture. So she's like, it's to do with the harvest again because she's helping harvest. So it's peace, but it's also to do with plenty. So prosperous under the protection of peace, and constituted a public appeal to good sense. So it's, she's freedom, she's peace. Well, she's peace, but she's also part to help with the harvest. Now, Eunomia, she was in conjunction with the Pleiades in May, right? And she's all to do with good order. It was right when the George Floyd thing was going on, and that's all justice and everything. She was in conjunction with the Pleiades, and I knew something was going to happen. I just didn't expect it to be that. But she's also the goddess of green pastures, and which means law. So she's bringing the balance. It's to do with Dyke. It's also she's Lady Justice. Now, the next one is Hygeia, Um, and she's just to do with medicine and health and prevention, preventive medicine. So, um, yeah, so that's good. So she's not part of the big farm. She's just helping you heal. So this it's interesting. It's like the symbolism that all these asteroids or these Greek mythology are all in on Cancer, which is really the manger of Christ. It's the beehive cluster, and they're all there. They're all doing their roles, right? It's kind of like the three fates. One heals you, one judges how long you're gonna live, and then the other one kills you. So it's kind of like the three fates are almost there, all hovering around, the Cancer, which is the balance, 69. It's the yin and the yang. And this is the main feature of the evening. We have Venus right on Ophiuchus in the doorway, the snake bearer, which I do believe is the doorway out of here is through Ophiuchus when you can control the snake. Then we have the sun right on the golden gate, right there on conjunction with Mercury, and this has to do with the part in the Bible. I think it's like saying the sun is on your face. There's a quote in the Bible, I do believe. I think I can find it. And also then we have Jupiter there, but that's what's that? It's right on top of Saturn, right on the mouth of the goat, which was like what I was showing you in that picture. The snake was open and the head of the goat was there, and Saturn and Jupiter are right there, right on the mouth. It's just like, it's all going back to the Greek mythology, what's happening in the sky this Christmas. So all very fascinating. Now, Ophiuchus is also, there's a quote in the Bible saying about 1 foot on the sea and 1 foot on land. And that's what he's doing. He's got one leg in the Milky Way, which is considered to be the sea, and the other is not. So that is also relating to the Bible, all to do with this placement. Okay, so here it is. A rainbow was upon his head, and his face was it as if it was the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot on the earth. Now, if you go back and look at this, it's all there. Mercury is on the sun, and it's right by Ophiuchus with 1 foot on the sea, 1 foot on the earth. So right on the mouth of the goat, Saturn and Jupiter are in conjunction in Saturn's house of Capricorn, and Herculina, which is the female version of Hercules, which is, him doing his 12 labors and trying to get to freedom, to get also the golden fleece. So yeah, it's all about having that protection, your gear on, your shield on, and the whole story is in the sky this Christmas Eve. It's unbelievable. And the other character that's on the Ophiuchus of Washington painting with George Washington and everything is Neptune. And that's in Aquarius. So that's again Enki's house. And he is, like basically Poseidon. He's Neptune, the god of the sea. Now, there was a Neptalia festival which celebrated control of catchments of water and drainage and was dedicated to Neptune. The festival was held quite fittingly on July 23rd during the peak of the summer when drought was an imminent possibility. But what's interesting about July 23rd is exactly at the beginning of when the sun goes into Cancer, and that has to be Tegman, and that is the back end of Cancer, which actually is the shield. So I do believe that's the golden fleece again. So it's interesting that that's when the festival, started, and Neptune is on the Ophiuchus of Washington. It's no coincidence. Now the other character in this play is Pluto, and he's in Jupiter's house of Sagittarius. So he's giving strength to the mutable cross. Now, I do believe this has to do with the harvest path because it's the chthonic Zeus, so it's relating to Zeus and Jupiter. Pluto is. Okay, so there's a relationship between Pluto and Jupiter, which I never really knew about. And Pluto was identified with a number of these deities um, of thunder, and then of the Roman god from the purification rites of the month of February takes the name February, because he was also related to that, and also to the god Cerberus. Now, Cerberus is like it's bees, okay? It's Sarah Bees. And Melania Trump, the bee best and her whole thing there. It's always about the bees. Who are the bees? The bees are the seraphims. These are the women that controlled the Anunnaki. The ancient Greeks did not regard Pluto as death per se. So it has to do with death, like Pluto, okay? Um, there's death personified with Pluto. Now, if he's in Jupiter's house, which is relating to Mars being in Jupiter's house of Pisces, which is war, so we got war and death on the two Jupiters, which is the mutable cross. Not good. This is all happening on the Christmas Eve. And then here's the mutable cross again, right? We have Mercury. Oh, Jupiter's missing there. Jupiter's there at the top, yeah. Jupiter, and then we have Mercury. Okay, this is your mutable cross of for the harvest path, basically the AI path. And don't get me wrong, just because if you're born on the mutable cross does not mean that that's your path. We're just talking about this as a society, where society is going. It's going mutable cross or cardinal cross. We've been on the fixed cross, the sun worship, male dominant. This is what we've been living. So now we're going into more feminine intuition, right brain thinking, psychicness, not the left brain of male dominance. Now, this is in the Bible, Isaiah 63:3. I have trodden the winepress alone, and from the people no one was with me. For I have trodden them in my anger and trampled them in my fury. The blood is sprinkled upon my garments. I have stained all my robes. So they're squeezing something out of the harvest people. They're taking something out of them. They're squeezing them. So this is the symbolism. This is the prophecy of what's going to happen. But what I'm saying is the sky is mirroring the prophecy. What's going to happen? That's really, I guess, up to us as, I think we are part of creating what's happening. But the prophecy, so many people believe in this prophecy, and the fact that all the planets are all aligned, it gives so much, power to the prophecy coming true. And we, with unveiled faces, no masks, all reflect the glory of the Lord, and being transformed into his image with intensity, glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers, so they cannot see the light of the gospel and the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. Who is the God of this age? It's Jupiter. Okay, that's the mutable cross. Saturn is the golden age. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore the eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. And if thy eye be evil, the whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? And then Genesis 32:30, we find the intriguing and blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God's face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over the Peniel, the sun rose upon him and halted upon his thigh. So this is all about your opening of your third eye, okay, which is Venus, which is your lateral vertical horns in your head, which relate to the I am cross. It's the cardinal cross, okay? It's to open the third eye through your freedom of your voice, connecting your heart chakra to your mind's eye through speaking your truth. And therefore you get your crown, I am. Cardinal cross, that's where we're going. We're on the fixed cross. We have to bust out of it. Phoenix rising, that's Aquarius, just like the Glastonbury. zodiac is saying, and then you're free to get onto the cardinal bus.